the green code rain that begins to fall down the screen. As the image gets closer, a forest of shapes can be seen due to the coding that is present everywhere. After emerging from what appears to be some sort of equipment, we notice the outline of a clock. A bunch of security guards clock out and depart for the evening as the image changes to a time clock. A black-clad figure on a matching motorcycle appears outside and takes off into the skies. She jumps off the bike, flips around in midair, and the bike lands on the guardhouse, exploding loudly. With grace, the figure lands in front of the explosion. It is revealed to be Trinity as she takes off her helmet. She easily repels the attack by the security guards in the parking lot. The image dissolves into code like dust, and upon restoration, we find ourselves perched atop a tall structure. With her weapons drawn, Trinity charges through the window. An agent is chasing her, so she flips on her back in midair and dives in headfirst. They trade gunfire before dropping slowly to the streets below. Trinity eventually takes a bullet to the chest. Something collides with a car near the sidewalk. It's impossible to tell who or what it is. Neo becomes conscious. He turns to face Trinity, who is soundly resting in his arms, and gets out of bed. From the outside, we can see the Nebuchadnezzar hovering above the planes and sewers. Link and Morpheus are inside the cockpit. "Mister, are you certain about this?" Link queries. Morpheus informs him that Link has to have faith in him if he is to remain the operator aboard his spacecraft. "Yes, in that case, sir." "I will, sir," Link replies. Morpheus gives him a quick look. "I mean I do, sir." Neo sits in the mess hall, thinking. Trinity takes a seat across from him. "Can't sleep anymore?" she asks. Neo takes a taste of his food and shakes his head. Trinity asks, "You want to talk?" Neo reassures, "They're just dreams. If you're afraid of something, all I want is to know what I'm meant to do. All I want is to know." Trinity reassures her, "Don't worry, she's going to call." When Link pokes his head in, Trinity queries, "Are we ready to go?" "We're already running late," he answers. Niobe is telling a group of other ship crews about the impending threat to Zion in a dimly lit subterranean bunker. In 72 hours, the digging equipment will arrive at Zion. Naturally, Morpheus and company arrive fashionably late. They make sure to grab attention by arguing that there is no need for alarm because, in his opinion, the prophecy will soon come to pass and put an end to the battle. But first the Oracle must be consulted. Consequently, in defiance of Commander Locke's explicit orders for all ships to return, Morpheus requests that a volunteer ship stay in broadcast depth while the Nebuchadnezzar returns to Zion for repairs and refueling. The Caduceus's Captain Ballard offers his services just to see what Locke does to you. He provides 36 hours to Morpheus. In the meantime, there is a knock on the front door. A head appears in silhouette against an automobile's headlights when the corrupt unlocks a little hatch on the door. "Who's Neo?" asks the stranger. The stranger gives the guard an envelope with the instruction to give it to Neo, but the guard says he has no idea who the man is talking about. "You see, he set me free." Without a doubt, that is Agent Smith's voice. Neo approaches to find out what's going on after sensing something. A guard says, "How did you know someone was here?" The person says, "He wanted me to give you this," and gives the envelope to Neo. An agent's earpiece slides into Neo's palm. Neo says, "Agents are coming." They run away, leaving Neo to deal with the danger. Despite the fact that Neo is the anomaly, the three agents move on because he is only human. Neo pauses to deflect a punch for a minute. Improvements. He dispatches them with ease. Neo crouches down after the fight, the ground trembles, and he shoots upwards, much like he did at the very end of the prequel. Smith approaches the fight site and remarks that everything went as expected. Another Smith faces him and says, "Yes. It's all happening exactly as before." "Well, not exactly." They grinned. As Morpheus phones Link to find out what transpired, he and Trinity are making their way to an exit. Link claims that once a number of agents arrived, the coding got all weird. It is unlike anything he had ever seen. And Morpheus says, "Where's Neo now?" "He's doing his Superman thing." Neo is soaring through the clouds, just like Link mentioned. He then comes to a standstill and descends back to the Earth. He landed in an old structure and goes into an empty apartment that we know to be the Oracle's. He asks in a whisper, "Where are you?" Nebuchadnezzar makes his way towards Zion. After Link speaks with a gate operator, they are granted entry. After landing, 3 APU escorts and Captain Mifune greet the crew as they step off the ship. As Morpheus puts it, "Are you here to escort me to the stockades, Captain?" "Assuredly, Mifune says, "I'm just here to keep the peace." Because Commander Locke wishes to see Morpheus, the escorts lead him over. "What's with them?" Neo inquires. Trinity asks back, "Locke and Morpheus?" Neo shakes his head. Z is not at all content. She is terrified by Link serving on Morpheus's ship. The Nebuchadnezzar returns home twice as frequently as the other ships. She fears she will lose him too, having previously lost 2 brothers to that ship. "It's unfair," she declares. "You think Cass thinks it's fair that I'm here and Dozer's not?" Link makes a claim. Morpheus predicts that everything will end shortly, and he adds that nothing bad will happen to him. What matters is that they embrace now that he's back at home. When night falls, everyone is assembled in the grotto of Zion's temple. As he offers the opening prayer and presents Morpheus, who then rises to speak, Counselor Hammond is perched on a cliff overlooking the gathering. He verifies the reports of the digging equipment and persuades everyone that there is nothing to be concerned about. His biggest defense is, "We are still here. Tonight, they'll create a lot of noise to let the machines know they're not scared." Everyone starts dancing as soon as the music turns on, acting as though this is their last night on Earth. Before Locke calls Niobe to his side, Morpheus bumps into her as he exits the podium, and the two engage in a light flirtation. In the meantime, Neo and Trinity cross paths outside the caverns. "I had a thought." "Everyone is present," remarks Neo. Trinity says, "Follow me." Neo and Trinity finally have some alone time together, and they make passionate love and enjoy the time of their lives together while everyone else is off having the time of their lives. Neo succumbs to his anxieties of losing Trinity as he unexpectedly sees a flashback of his dream in which she is shot. When Trinity inquires as to what's wrong, he merely says that he fears losing her. She takes his hand and asks, "Do you sense this?" "I refuse to let go." They stay still in each other's arms, holding each other firmly. All of them eventually go to bed, and the lights are turned out. Bane and another member of the Caduceus crew are running from something frightening back in the Matrix. They've arrived at an exit, and the Oracle has sent them a message. Bane exits last, and before he can, Smith throws himself through the skylight and stabs Bane in the chest with his hand. "Oh, God!" Bane shivers with fear. "Smith is adequate," the ex-agent declares. From the place where Smith had his hand, a kind of black fluid covers Bane's body, turning him into another Smith clone. After placing the phone to his ear, the clone exits the Matrix. Neo gets up and walks out of his flat to look at the skyline. He's approached by Counselor Hammond, who offers to keep him company. Neo agrees. Has Neo ever reached the engineering level? Hammond queries. They go because he hasn't. After arriving at the location, Hammond shares with Neo his curiosity about whether or not the free humans are indeed wired into these machines. After all, they are dependent upon them. Neo responds that they are in charge of these devices and that they may disable or destroy them at will. However, as Hammond notes, there's a catch. What would happen to their heat, water supply, etc. if they turned them off? Ultimately, though, his musings are meaningless, and that is where they finish. Ballard knocks on a door in Zion in the morning, and Trinity answers. "Is Neo here?" Neo appears as Trinity opens the door even further. A little electronic component, a message from the Oracle, is presented to him. Morpheus departs with the ship and crew against Locke's orders so that Neo can meet her. Z tries to persuade Link to wear her fortunate necklace before they leave. They share a kiss after he grudgingly consents despite not believing in that crap. Bane/Smith, the party's ship, is sitting in a subterranean alcove, severing his hand with a knife. He approaches the group from behind, knife in hand, as they pass him. However, he is found out when the previous child runs. Neo. Smith/Bane conceals the knife behind his back while saying he was only wishing everyone luck. Before he departs, the child must bid farewell to his hero and offer him a gift from one of the orphans. "He said you'd understand. It's a spoon made of metal." Counselor Hammond's decision to grant the Nebuchadnezzar permission to depart has Locke furious. He took this action because he thinks that having more ships is not the only factor that will determine their survival. Near the specified address, which is in Chinatown, Neo enters the Matrix. He walks from the street into a small room where a man dressed in Asian-style clothing sits and meditates. The stranger glows golden to Neo, who sees world in code. "Hello," he greets. "I am Seraph." Neo will accompany him to the Oracle. "But first I must apologize." "For what?" Neo asks himself. "For this," Seraph flashes out. Seraph is content after kicking, hitting, and blocking for a while. Given the Oracle's numerous opponents, he had to confirm that Neo was, in fact, the one. You could have simply asked, Neo grinned. Until you fight someone, you don't really know them, Seraph responds. Then he closes the door to the outside world, takes out a key, inserts it into the lock, and opens the door once more. It now leads to a white hallway with green doors instead of the streets of Chinatown. These are back doors, Neo says in closing. Seraph attests. Where'd they go? Connect miracles in the actual world. They proceed along the corridor until Seraph pauses and opens a different door. This one takes you to a secluded courtyard with a bench where the Oracle is waiting. She motions for Neo to take a seat as he gets closer. He declines with grace. She says, "Suit yourself," and shrugs. Neo does indeed take a seat. I felt like sitting. Of course, the Oracle begins, "Let's get the obvious out of the way." Neo asks, "You're not human, are you?" Doesn't get more obvious than that. If I had to speculate, I would assume that you were a machine world program. Also, he is, Neo says, glancing at Seraph. I guess the most obvious question is, how can I trust you? In response, the Oracle says he must decide whether or not to believe her. She says, "Candy?" To him. "You already know if I'm going to take it? Wouldn't be much of an oracle if I didn't. Then how can I make a choice?" In response, the Oracle says that he just needs to comprehend the decision that he has already made. Neo asks, "But why are you here?" The Oracle indicates a group of crows and says that eventually a program will be in place to control them along with everything else. Unlike programs that don't function, those that accomplish their job are unseen. The latter take the form of what people call vampires, ghosts, and so forth. A program that is about to be deleted has two options: it can stay hidden here or go back to the source. Wherever you have to go. The machine mainframe. You have seen, are you not? The portal of radiant illumination. Neo affirms. What occurs if you step through it? I notice Trinity. After a negative incident, Trinity begins to crumble. Do you see her die? No, you've got the sight now, Neo. Neo asks why he is unable to see what is happening to Trinity, and the response that he receives is that our perception is limited to the decisions that we do not fully comprehend. Are you saying I have to choose whether Trinity lives or dies? No, Neo. The decision is already decided by you. Neo finds this unacceptable. He must do this, yet he cannot. Why? Because you are the one. All of Zion will end if Neo doesn't travel to the source, and in order to get there, he will require the Keymaker, an antiquated and hazardous program that is presently being kept hostage by the Merovingian. When Seraph approaches and says they have to go, the Oracle and he head out the back door. Smith appears just before the door closes. It seems that he and Neo have some sort of connection. He clarifies that after Neo destroyed him, he was meant to be erased, but he disobeyed and is now unplugged. Then there's the issue of purpose, and suddenly Smith clones start showing up, each explaining how important purpose is. Smith tries to turn Neo into another clone while the original Smith and Neo are surrounded by clones, but Neo resists and takes Smith's hand out of his chest with significant difficulty. Every attack by Smiths. A protracted battle breaks out, with more clones joining in all the while. An agent arrives on the scene in the midst of everything. A Smith clone surprises him and transforms him into a different Smith. Neo fights them, but their combined strength momentarily overwhelms him. He manages to fling many of them off, buying himself enough time to take off. The Smiths watch him walk away and then party. Neo is back in the real world, disconnected. "It was Smith," Morpheus replies. Neo affirms, adding that he's managed to replicate himself. He adds that he felt the same way in the hotel corridor 6 months prior, when Smith had shot him, when he tried to consume him shortly before the fight. Neo sums up his experience by saying, "It felt like dying." The council and every crew are assembled in Zion. Locke outlines their strategy and current state of affairs. The council is not very confident in these strategies. Subsequently, they inquire as to whether Nebuchadnezzar has sent any word. It has not occurred. In spite of Locke's objections, the council so requests that 2 volunteer ships look for them. Captain Soren gets to his feet right away. Nobody else responds to the inquiry. Ballard tells Bane/Smith to stop talking when he offers that they volunteer. To Locke's shock and dismay, Niobe eventually says she is willing to look for the missing party. She is adamant despite his attempts to stop her from going, since certain things never change and some things do. The Merovingian and his wife Persephone are seated at the top table, acting as though they are king and queen, as Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus arrive at a French restaurant in the Matrix. The Merovingian, who describes himself as a trafficker of information, is aware of their purpose for being there. According to him, the question is, do they know? Declaring that he will not relinquish the Keymaker, he explains that they are there per orders and instructs them to inform the Oracle that her time is almost up. He also explains to them the forces of causality, which he regards as the only true reality. After saying what he wanted to say, he ends the discussion and excuses himself to go use the men's room. The Maravillian goons lead Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity to the elevator. Persephone is waiting for them when the elevator stops and the doors open. Dryly, she adds, "If you want the Keymaker, follow me," and leads them to the men's chamber, where the Merovingian is not present. "Why are you doing this?" Neo queries. She responds by saying that she now resents her spouse. She wants to remember what love feels like, therefore she will only take them to the Keymaker if Neo kisses her as if she were Trinity. Trinity lashes out at Persephone with a rifle in anger, but she is forced to back down because they need the Keymaker and watch in agony. Persephone keeps her word as soon as she is happy. They arrive at a chateau's grand hall as a result. The group is then led by Persephone to a tiny study where two dubious guys are keeping watch. She kills one with a silver bullet and orders the other to either confess to his lord what she did or perish like his companion. Persephone yells, "He's in the ladies' room," as the vampire darts off and opens a secret passage to the dungeons, where they discover the Keymaker. The Merovingian and his goons storm through the front door, bursting into the big hall with its hundreds of mounted weapons and majestic staircases. His wife's behaviors startle him, and he doesn't understand why. She explains quite simply that it is cause and consequence, just as he stated. The Merovingian argues that there's no reason for this, but Persephone identifies that he's still wearing lipstick, not on his lips, mind you, and walks away. Upon discovering that the twins possess the capacity to transform into spectrals, the Merovingian gives them immediate instructions to retrieve the Keymaker. The Keymaker immediately runs away, with Trinity and Morpheus trailing behind, leaving Neo to deal with the goons. The notion that Neo can halt them by himself is ridiculed by the Merovingian. He gives the command to fire to his armed crew. Neo just raises his palm, causing every bullet to miss him and fall to the ground useless. Neo uses many of the weapons that are displayed on the walls as well as martial arts to fight every thug in hand-to-hand combat. Eventually, Neo murders each of them. The Merovingian leaves, closing the door behind him, spitting that he had survived Neo's predecessors in disappointment. Neo finds himself in the mountains at a high altitude after breaking through the door. A sub-level parking garage is accessed through a door at the end of a hallway that the Keymaker had connected, but Morpheus forgets to lock it before one of the twins gets an arm in between it and the door frame. Trinity fires a shot to the twin's arm, but it is insufficient to make him retreat. When the other twin enters the room in spectral form, Trinity tries to stop him. Morpheus is holding the door open, but she fails, and the twin uses a straight razor to hold her captive. All he can do is allow the other twin to pass. Meanwhile, Morpheus uses a pistol and a katana he stole from the Merovingian passage to keep the twins at bay while Trinity rushes over to climb into the driver's seat of the car that the Keymaker has acquired. They run away after Morpheus gets into the automobile. One of the twins shuts the door in Neo's face as they leave. In the city, Trinity and Morpheus are racing through the streets in an attempt to elude the twins who are chasing them and have purchased a car of their own. When Morpheus phones Link for assistance, the only option is to go on the road. Several police cars are now pursuing them. Trinity responds, "You always told me to stay off the freeway." "Yes, that's true. You said it was suicide. Then let us hope that I was wrong." Niobe phones Link somewhere else in the Matrix to inform him that they have arrived to rescue them. Link says, "Just follow the sirens." The twins are now ahead of Morpheus and company on the freeway, and as soon as they run out of ammunition, the non-driving one assumes spectral form and lands next to the Keymaker in the backseat of the other car. Morpheus makes vain attempts to repel him. Subsequently, agents appear. One of them jumps on the hood of Trinity and Morpheus's vehicle and tears off the roof. Even though the twin is holding him down, Morpheus fires at him, but this doesn't help anymore. Trinity applies the brakes, launching the agent into the air. After much more fighting, Morpheus manages to get hold of the katana, which he then drives through the seat, compelling the twin to relinquish his solid form and go. His brother picks him up right away. "We are getting aggravated." "Yes, we are. Our heroes are being pursued by another agent, who opens fire and strikes them with his vehicle. However, they are able to lose him when they exit the road in a way that sends the agent crashing into the guardrail. They now halt completely and are on a bridge crossing the expressway. Trinity, "Get him out of here," Morpheus commands. She yells to the Keymaker, "Come on." And they leap from the bridge onto a truck that is towing a trailer full of motorcycles. To deal with the twins, Morpheus stays behind. He dodges their car as they come at him, then slashes through the back tire of their SUV with the stolen katana. When the car topples over onto its side, Morpheus fires his pistol, setting the gas tank on fire. The twins are engulfed in flames as the SUV bursts into a geyser of flame, but they do not lose consciousness. Police trail along and quickly change into additional agents. Standing atop a second semi-truck, Morpheus approaches them and seizes the Keymaker. Since the agents are now after the Keymaker, Trinity is no longer being sought for and manages to get away. Instead, Morpheus is attacked by an agent, and they engage in combat on top of the semi. Despite his fierce resistance, Morpheus is knocked down, but not before Niobe spots him on her car's hood. Niobe races Morpheus to a point in front of the semi-truck while he gestures silently at her. The Keymaker is approached by the agent. "You are no longer necessary." The Keymaker declares, "We do only what we're meant to do." "Then you have one additional purpose in mind." "Deletion," the agent responds. The agent is going to end the exile when Morpheus leaps on him and knocks him unconscious. The agent pushes Niobe's automobile out of traffic and continues to go to the driver's seat of the same semi-truck. Another agent controls a semi-truck further back, and he maneuvers the vehicle in the direction of the other truck to cause a head-on collision. Morpheus says to himself, "Neo, if you're out there, I could use some help." Link asks, "What is that?" in reference to something on the screen. Just before both vehicles collide in a blaze of flame and twisted metal, Neo appears out of nowhere, snatching Morpheus and the Keymaker. They find out in Zion that iron is currently slowing down the machines that are boring into the earth, meaning they will be in Zion in just over 9 hours. The Keymaker is gathered along with Soren, Niobe, Morpheus, and their crews. He gives them instructions. Neo has to enter the door that connects to the source, but first, he has to destroy the electrical network that supplies energy to 27 square blocks in order to prevent the building from blowing up as a whole. That means Soren and his team need to destroy the emergency network while Niobe and Ghost take out a power plant. This will offer Neo a window of 5 minutes in which to open the door. Everyone needs to work together. Everyone that fails, the Keymaker commands. Neo promises Trinity that he won't go into the Matrix while they are back in the real world, waiting for the appropriate moment to go. She acknowledges this. While Niobe and Ghost are successful, Soren and his group are slain by Sentinels before they can complete their task. When Link and Trinity realize they aren't moving, Trinity needs to enter to complete their task. Neo enters the backdoor hallway with Morpheus, the Keymaker, and himself as soon as he notices the lights go out. Smith greets them there. Everything occurs as in Neo's dreams when Trinity joins the Matrix. A group of Smiths ambush Neo and Morpheus in the corridor. Neo stops them from taking Morpheus's body for themselves. As the conflict heats up, the Keymaker uses other doors to slip around and opens the one they're looking for right before Trinity causes the power grid to fail once more. After seizing Morpheus, Neo takes off via the door. Regretfully, Smith shoots the Keymaker to death as he shuts it once more. Before inhaling his final breath, he gives Neo the key to the special door and directs Morpheus as to which door to use to return home. Unbeknownst to her, an agent is simultaneously traveling towards Trinity. Neo steps through the lights door. He is currently in a room with vintage television screens lining the walls. The architect, who created the Matrix, is seated in a chair across the room. Neo queries his presence. Neo, according to the architect, is an aberration that he has been unable to eliminate. Neo says, "You haven't addressed my query." The architect attests to this and says he picked things up quicker than the others. The screens, which depict Neo and convey his thoughts, are all confused about what the architect is trying to say. "You don't realize how old the Matrix is," says the architect. This appears to be the 6th iteration. Though Neo finds it difficult to comprehend, he comes to the conclusion that either no one told me or no one knows. Precisely. The calculations the architect uses to construct the Matrix depend on the anomaly. Neo realizes, choice, the problem is choice. Trinity is suddenly taken aback by an agent. She can't compete with him and falls to the ground quickly. The first Matrix, according to the architect, was flawless and hence failed. In vain, the architect made another attempt to make it represent human nature. An intuitive program, initially created to investigate certain aspects of the human psyche, identified the issue. The architect said that the Oracle's discovery, that humans needed to be given choice, was accidental. This brings them to Zion, where Neo is with the architect due to the impending destruction of the place, which Neo finds difficult to accept. The architect only notes that it is their sixth attempt and they are becoming increasingly proficient at it. Trinity keeps fighting the agent, but she is losing ground little by little. Neo needs to go back to the source in order for the Prime program to be launched, according to the architect. He must then select 23 individuals to reconstruct Zion. Should he fail to do so, a system failure will cause the Matrix to crash, killing all Link users. Zion's impending destruction would be the end for humanity. Neo draws attention to the fact that machines cannot exist without people. The architect says, there are levels of survival we are willing to accept. But he doesn't think Neo will accept the end of humanity. The architect goes on to explain that the 5 ancestors were intended to get attached to one another. In contrast, Neo has a clearer objective in mind for his feelings. Trinity. Neo whispers to himself. The architect discloses that she entered the Matrix to save his life as the panels display her current situation. 2 doors are presented to Neo by the architect. The path leading to the source is on his right, while the path leading to Trinity and the demise of humanity is on his left. The elderly guy can sense that Neo's emotions are preventing him from seeing the fact that Trinity will pass away in any case. Neo moves to his left, as the Oracle had prophesied, only to pause and warn the architect that he had best hope they don't cross paths again. It's only we won't, in response. Morpheus has recently emerged from the Matrix and is back in the real world. Link says, "We have a problem, sir." Morpheus cries, "Oh, no," realizing that Trinity is involved. As Trinity continues to struggle with the agent, he follows her through the glass and shoots her, just as Neo had imagined the agent would do. As Neo accelerates beyond all previous speed, he manages to intercept her before the agent smashes the car. Together, they land on a rooftop, where Neo lays her down. She looks to be seriously injured. Neo moves to his left, as the Oracle had prophesied, only to pause and warn the architect that he had best hope they don't cross paths again. It's only we won't, in response. Morpheus has recently emerged from the Matrix and is back in the real world. Link says, "We have a problem, sir." Morpheus cries, "Oh, no," realizing that Trinity is involved. As Trinity continues to struggle with the agent, he follows her through the glass and shoots her, just as Neo had imagined the agent would do. As Neo accelerates beyond all previous speed, he manages to intercept her before the agent smashes the car. Together, they land on a rooftop, where Neo lays her down. She looks to be seriously injured. The sentinel they spotted keeps its distance, rotates quickly, and lets off a tow bomb that crashes into the Nebraska. The crew witnesses, from a safe distance, as the tremendous weapon blows apart the Nebuchadnezzar. Heartbroken, Morpheus replies, "I have dreamed a dream, but that dream has gone from me." The humans flee for their life as the sentinels quickly pursue them. Neo abruptly stops. "There's a difference," he remarks. Trinity asks, "What?" "I can feel them." Neo freezes the sentinels in midair as if he were sending out an EMP as they approach. He passes out as soon as every sentinel is down. At that moment, the ship Hammer arrives to save them. Trinity is by Neo's side as he lies unconscious in sickbay aboard. The ship's crew informs Morpheus and Link about the counter-offensive against the digging machines in the conference room. Though that all sounded fantastic, there was a mistake. Before they could get into position, an EMP went off, rendering 5 ships disabled. It was a massacre. Nobody is aware of how it occurred. Now, the lone survivor lies comatose beside Neo in the Hammer's sickbay. It's the Bane.